I knew there's 3 more stories, and I knew that was going to probably take, to do it right would take about 10 years. And I said, I'm 70. I don't know whether I'll be here when I'm 80. Every 10 years, the odds get less. I said, and I'm not ready to do that because I want to do these other things. So I have to make the decision on my own that it's time for me to move on. I made the decision to sell the company with Star Wars. I made that decision because I looked at the future. I looked at the fact that I was going to have a baby. I looked at the fact that I was married. And I looked at the fact that I wanted to build a museum. And I looked at the fact that I wanted to make experimental films. So my life was going on a different track.
Star Wars creator George Lucas and his wife behind the project. He says the focus of the museum is to open people's imaginations and inspire them to dream beyond what is considered possible. It's also about inclusion and serving the community. Here's more now from the ceremony.
I believe in all kinds of art, and I believe all kinds of art have a right to exist.
This is such a historic moment, not just because it's George's first time at Comic-Con, because this is the very first time George has done a personal show and tell of the new museum, the new Lucas Museum of Narrative Art.
The idea is that I couldn't really afford real art. I love all art, no matter what it is. But I could afford comic art because in those days it was underground and it was, you sort of had to know people. So I've been sort of collecting narrative art ever since then.
You managed to collect upwards of 40,000 pieces of art.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 50 years. And then it occurred to me that, what am I going to do with it all? Because I refuse to sell it. I'm not one of the typical high art collectors who buys and then you come back 5 years later and you say, what happened to that painting you bought? That was so beautiful. Well, I sold it for $10 million. I made a lot of money on it. I said, I could never do that. It's not what I think art is. I think it's more about, a connection, an emotional connection with the work, not how much it cost or what celebrity did it. I've worked with hundreds of illustrators in my life, and they're all brilliant, they're all great, but they don't get recognized for anything. So this is sort of a temple to the people's art. This museum is dedicated to the idea that stories, mythology, is written to affect people and to build community is extremely important to society and creating societies and creating community. Art illustrates that story. The idea of the common mythology that we believe in today, like love and community, and all of it, we've got like 33, 40 different galleries, and those galleries all are illustrations of a particular mythology that we live with today. Whether it's love, whether it's work, these are all not real, but it's an idea that gives us a common belief system. And a common belief system, you can't build anything. You can't build pyramids, you can't build palaces, you can't build airplanes, you can't do anything by yourself.
And this museum is him. I mean, it's his gift to sort of help celebrate this. And what I really enjoy about it, honestly, is that, narrative art is a way to educate kids and to sort of like validate and say it's okay to, draw your fantasy, draw things from your mind, embrace comic books. It shouldn't be looked down upon. And what's fantastic is that I think the museum, my hope is that it will inspire, the next Norman Rockwell or Frank Frazetta.
Let's talk a little bit about the actual details of the museum, because I found this very curious, the attention to detail. There are no right angles in the entire museum. Everything in the museum is curved. Tell me a little bit about that. What was the thought?
The shape of the museum for me, what it is flow. And what is beautiful is that George is a collector, I'm a collector, but I know I don't own anything. I'm holding it briefly for the next person. that is going to hold it or see it. Because we are not eternal, but we hold and what we cherish is. That art will live longer than any of us. And the flow of the museum is like a movie strip. It's telling you that. It's just telling you, look, this is for you. And then you're going to bring the next thing, and it's going to continue. And you can drink from the same fountains that of knowledge and image and content and power and myth that George and many, many others have been part of. And that continuum and that generosity is what makes a big difference, that the shape reflects that. And I think it says, look, this belongs to you, carry it with you, and keep moving forward.
I want to thank George Lucas. Would like to thank Guillermo del Toro. And I want to congratulate Doug for having a museum made just for him, the illustrator, courtesy of the man to his right, and many, many more. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together one more time for Dr.